Welcome back everybody to yet another episode on the channel. Today, as you guys seen from the title, we're going to be talking about my top 3 lure choices for fishing the Mississippi River, so stay tuned. Alright guys, welcome back. Like I said, we're talking about my top 3 lures here for the Mississippi River, but before we jump into that, let me go ahead and say if you guys have not subscribed to the channel at 5,000 subscribers, we're doing a rod and reel giveaway, so if you want to be entered in the rod and reel giveaway, you gotta subscribe. At 5,000 subscribers, we're doing the giveaway here, so if you guys haven't, go ahead and subscribe now, and then while you're at it, hit the little bell notification next to the subscribe button so you don't miss any times that I upload. I upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so hit that little bell notification and you will never miss an upload. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, guys, first off, I want to say that this is my personal opinion, guys. These are the top 3 lures that if I was going to fish in Mississippi and this is all I had, these would be the 3 that I would use. While we're at it, we're going to be covering the setups that I use for fishing these particular lures here. But like I said, it is my personal opinion. If you guys have a lure choice that you think is great for fishing the Mississippi River, go ahead and drop it in the comments below. I know there's a ton of you guys who watch this who fish the river systems and whatnot. So I'd love to see what you guys love to use. If you agree with me, if you think there's something better, go ahead and drop it in the comments below. Would love to see it. So without further ado, we're going to be talking about frogs here, guys. Now this is my frogging box here. This thing is just loaded, jam-packed with frogs here. So I went ahead and I just pulled out a few different frogs here. Now, pretty much I keep it pretty simple when it comes to fishing a frog on the Mississippi, guys. If you guys have fished in Mississippi, you know that frogs are an excellent choice. There's tons of vegetation all around on the Mississippi River, and you can get on a juicy frog bite. Sometimes that's the best way to use a frog on the Mississippi, is to search around, checking different stuff. Sometimes throwing a frog around is probably the best search bait on the Mississippi. You throw that around, next thing you know, you start getting bites. If they're not eating the frog all the way, you can slow it down and start throwing a Texas rig, something else like that, and start to pick them apart. Like I said, I got 3 different frogs here. This is my favorite frog right here from Spro. I don't know what the color is, but it's got like a whitish chartreuse bottom on it. I really like that. This is probably my go-to frog most of the time. But if I have like a super cloudy day or something like that, I'm gonna switch to an all black frog. This is just a cupped frog on the lips there, but an all black frog. And if I got super sunny days and this is just not doing it, sometimes I go ahead and throw on an all white frog and go from there. But I pretty much just keep it to those 3 colors, guys. I like that little yellow bottom. Sometimes that just grabs a bite. Otherwise, I'm using black or white frogs. I don't get too fancy with the colors. A lot of these times, these companies will kind of get these tops or whatever all colored something, but really the fish is only seeing the bottom of it. So I just make sure that I look at the bottoms and see that that's the color that I want. So like I said, guys, a frog is one of my #1 choices here, and the setup that I'm going to use to fish that on is going to be this ALX Hammer 7.3. This is a heavy action rod, or heavy fast action rod. I'm rigging it up with a 7 3-to-1 Abu Garcia reel with 50 or 65 pound braid. I like to keep it around 50 pounds. Just because then you can cast a little bit further. But this has been my setup for frogging this year, guys. It's a beast of a setup. I love this Hammer 7.3 from ALX. Thing is just an absolute beast of a rod. But like I said, frogging, just a great all-around choice for fishing the Mississippi. So my next lure, guys, some of you may have already guessed it, but it's going to be a jig, guys. I absolutely love fishing a jig on the Mississippi River. As you know, if you fished the Mississippi River before, if you have not, there is a ton of cut banks. There's a lot of structure on the Mississippi. This is perfect for that. A jig, like I said, is just absolutely perfect for cut banks or flipping any sort of structure. Right here, I've got a compact looking pretty jig. I'm just throwing a crawfish style trailer. That's pretty much all I ever use on these, is just the crawfish style trailers on here. This is a 3/8 ounce. I will go up to a 1/2 ounce. Sometimes I do switch it up to like a white. If I'm getting into some cleaner water, I will go from black and blue to white most of the time. Really have been having a lot of luck on white jigs this year. But like I said, a jig is perfect for that, guys. There's just so much structure on the Mississippi. Especially you get around those bridges or those rock points, or you just come up to a point of an island or a slough that's got some wood structure hanging off of it. Jigs are excellent for that, or weed lines if you want to pitch a weed line. like I said, jigs just work really, really well for that. I'm sure a lot of you can agree if you fished a river system, but especially, and I know I've said it earlier, but cut banks, guys, a jig is just huge for that. If you can find a bank that's got some reeds hanging over it, but you got a good drop off of, like, you know, down to like 4 to, like, man, I mean, if you could, the steeper the drop off on one of those cut banks that you can get, the better it's going to be for jig fishing. A prime example of that was we were out fishing a tournament and we had right where the boat was, we were probably like, I don't know, like 3-4 feet away from the bank, and where the boat was sitting was like 7-8 feet of water. So it dropped off really quick. Those cut banks are just absolutely killer when tossing a jig on them. Alright guys, so my favorite thing to toss this on is the ALX Icos Promise 7.3. This is a medium heavy fast action rod. I've got 30-pound braid on here. I generally toss a jig on braid unless I'm in super clean water. A 7-1-to-1 Abu Garcia Pro Max. This has been pretty much my setup all year long for fishing a jig, guys. This Promise 7.3, I do like a little bit longer rod for fishing a jig, but this rod has been great for me. I know I'm all ALX'd out here, guys, but I really enjoy these ALX rods. But I think a medium heavy is just absolutely perfect for a jig, 3/8 up to what, an ounce. I mean, I pretty much only fish 3/8 to 1/2 ounce jigs on here, and that is the setup that I use to fish a jig. So lastly, if you guys have been a fan of the channel for some time now, you probably already know what I'm gonna say here, but my favorite #1 choice that I would say for fishing the Mississippi River is going to be a swim jig, guys. A swim jig is a huge deal. You can cover a lot of water with the swim jig on the Mississippi. It's perfect because there's so much vegetation on the Mississippi, and if it's not, I mean, if it gets super thick, you gotta throw the frog, but you could throw a swim jig through some pretty heavy and wicked cover, guys, and I think it's a lure that is great for searching for fish, especially when you get around that thicker vegetation. You start to throw on like a chatterbait or a spinnerbait and it just starts to get hung up in all that grass, but a swim jig always seems to pull through. My favorite areas for throwing a swim jig are pretty much right on the like edge of mud lines. And what I mean by a mud line is pretty much where you get really dirty water and all of a sudden it meets with nice clean water, and there's a real defined edge of what that looks like. You'll see pretty stained water and all of a sudden it'll be nice and clean water. Love throwing a swim jig around those mud lines. I love covering. There's a really good weed line. I love throwing this up into the weeds, bringing it right to the edge of the weeds and then letting it drop and then reeling it the rest of the way in. And like I said, the swim jig is just a great search bait and for finding fish. My favorite colors for a swim jig are, I love fishing the white colored swim jigs. Black and blue is probably my absolute favorite colored swim jig for the Mississippi, but white has definitely been really productive for me lately. White, black and blue, black, blue and purple seems to work really well. Green pumpkin, all those different colors, but pretty much black and blue and white if I had to pick 2 colors. I always throw it on a 1/4 ounce swim jig. I don't go much heavier than a 1/4 ounce. That's pretty much, I feel like with a 1/4 ounce with the trailer on there is plenty to toss around. If it's getting really thick vegetation, I will go ahead and throw on a 1/2, but probably 99% of the time it's going to be a 1/4 ounce. Love you fishing the paddle-tailed trailers here, guys. Paddle-tailed trailers just work wonders, guys. I don't know what it is about this setup here for a swim jig, but it always gets bit. The paddle tail just works the best. I think it's the best trailer to use on a swim jig in my opinion. In that earlier season bite, I'm probably going to, like early spring, I'll probably start to switch it up and throw maybe the Rage Menace. This is got little kickers on there that work pretty well. This trailer works really well if you're trying to go ahead and kind of bring that bait down to be a little more sizable for the fish. The Rage Menace works really well for that. Otherwise, I use crawfish style trailers on the back of this jig, will work just as well. But the paddle tail seems to be the best bet. Always catch fish on the paddle tail. Lastly, that I'd like to say about the swim jig is in the fall time, this thing is killer, especially this setup right here. the white swim jig with the white paddle tail trailer is absolutely killer time in the fall time, because those shad are pushing up into those bays, and so are those bass, and they're trying to feed up, and you just mimic that shad perfectly, and definitely get on a juicy bite in the fall time with this particular setup for a swim jig. And lastly, what am I going to be throwing this on? What is my favorite setup? It's right here, guys. This is the ALX Promise 7. It's a medium heavy fast action rod. I'm fishing on a 7 3-to-1 Abu Garcia SX HS reel with 20-pound fluorocarbon. I run the 20-pound fluorocarbon because I'm fishing this in like a lot of vegetation, guys. There's a lot of vegetation on the river, and I like to make sure that I can get a fish through that if I need to. So that's why I go heavier with the fluorocarbon, guys. This rod, I love a 7-foot rod for a swim jig. Absolutely can't say enough about this rod for fishing a swim jig, guys. I threw on a little bit faster reel this year. Sometimes you really got to slow it down to get that retrieve. Sometimes those fish really want it slow, but so far this setup has just been killer for me, guys. If you've seen in a lot of my videos, I'm fishing a swim jig a ton, and you can see this setup in action. Definitely catches a lot of fish. Alright guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Everything that I went over I will link in the description here, especially the rods and the reels and everything will be linked down below. If you want to go check out ALX rods, guys, they're linked down below. Well, they just redid their website. They got a really nice website on there, and you can also chat with them if you have any questions. As for lure choices, guys, I don't really care about my brand so much, especially swim jigs. I mean, there's so many different swim jigs that you can go with out there, jigs as well, and frogs. I think any of those is pretty much fine. I don't have a particular brand that I'm associated with or that I super recommend. I think they all do pretty darn well, any brand that you buy. Like I said, everything will be linked down below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any other lure selections that I did not list, like I said in the beginning of the video, go ahead, drop it in the comments below. Would love to see it. Thank you guys for all the support. Thank you guys for commenting, giving me the feedback. I love feedback, so just keep it coming. And like I always say, keep fishing hard.